Hi, welcome to Moveeno Recap. Smashing the subscribe button is very valuable to us, so go ahead and leave us a like. Sit back and enjoy.
At the beginning of the film, a group of individuals were in the fields collecting corn in baskets. One member of the group abruptly ceased their work and walked in a different direction, subsequently falling down. The man's son and fellow workers rushed over to him, but he eventually passed away and a funeral was held. Later on, the boy was sitting on the couch, disassembling an electronic device. After putting the parts together, it was revealed that the device was a radio cassette player. The boy, named William, confirmed to his father, who entered the room, that he had fixed it. William then gave the radio to his father, who went outside and turned it on. The radio announced that the clouds were moving in a westerly direction. Anticipating precipitation, the man gazed optimistically at the sky, longing for rain due to the village's severe drought. Meanwhile, William retrieved water from the well to cleanse himself before discovering a surprise gift from his parents upon entering his room: new clothes. Delighted, William expressed gratitude towards his parents. The following day, William dressed in his new clothes, bid farewell to his parents, and headed to school. Upon arrival, the students formed a queue as the principal provided guidance, highlighting the school's financial struggles, but emphasizing that the students' determination and diligence could make all the difference. However, their conversation was interrupted by a sudden downpour, causing the principal to promptly direct the students to their respective classrooms. Upon entering the classroom, they were greeted by their algebra teacher, Kachagunda, who proceeded to begin the lesson. Following the class, William approached Kachagunda to express his regards. However, to William's surprise, Kachagunda mentioned that his father had not yet paid for his tuition and that he could be expelled from the class. Feeling shocked, William left the classroom and returned home. William spent the majority of the evening preparing for school and completing his assignments. However, as he requested his mother to turn on the lights, she informed him that there was only a limited amount of kerosene left. The following day, the teacher distributed the exam scores, and William had passed with a 62%. Though he was content with the results, he believed that he could strive for even better grades. Following school, they made their way to the landfill, where William discovered something that immediately caught his attention: a battery. Later on, he proceeded towards a house where a meeting among villagers was being held. The topic under discussion was about an offer from another village to purchase trees at a lucrative price. However, the dilemma was that these trees served as a crucial defense mechanism, safeguarding the village and its farmland from drought. The deadline for the purchase offer on the trees was set for the following day. In an attempt to feed their families, a few individuals consented and signed the contract to sell the trees. Despite this, William's father made an effort to persuade them against this decision, warning of the dire consequences that would arise if the trees were to be chopped down, as it would trigger a drought, leading to the demise of their entire crop. Despite his efforts, nobody paid heed to William's father's warnings. In the meantime, William fashioned a trap for small animals by pulling a rope, which led to a sudden outburst of noise. Curious, he decided to investigate, only to find out that a large group of people were in the process of sawing down the trees. This sight left William devastated, as he realized that nothing could prevent the impending drought. Afterward, he accompanied his friend to a hut where several adult men were seated. The group of men were in the midst of a conversation about girls while listening to the radio, which unfortunately stopped working due to the batteries running out. At this point, they requested William to fetch fresh batteries from his house, to which he agreed and hurried home. After retrieving all the batteries, he made a quick visit to his father, informing him that the school fees had to be paid the next day. Despite William's urgency, his father stated that he could not pay the school fees the following day, and that they would have to wait for some time. William rushed back to the group of men and was able to fix the radio, which made everyone happy and appreciative of his efforts. As he left the hut, he spotted his sister kissing his teacher, Kachagunda. The next day, William and his friends returned to the landfill. During their visit, one of his friends suggested that they take revenge on Kachagunda by breaking his bike. Without much thought, William agreed to his friend's plan to break Kachagunda's bike. However, as he approached the bike, he discovered a fascinating feature: pedaling it caused the headlight to light up. This was an exciting discovery for William. Later that night, William overheard his parents discussing their financial struggles and how they were unable to pay for his schooling. The following day, the director called out several names and asked the remaining students to step forward. He informed them that their tuition fees were unpaid and there would be no extensions, meaning they could not continue their studies unless they paid the due amount. William and his father then went to their friend Travel's place. William's father proposed to Travel that he purchase some trees to safeguard his village from drought and floods, but Travel dismissed the idea, stating that it would not be effective. Due to the significant crisis in the world, their state would be unable to assist farmers, and a long-lasting famine was anticipated soon. Eventually, the rainfall ceased, and an intense drought set in. William sneaked into the classroom unnoticed and approached Kachagunda after class to ask how the bicycle headlight works. He inquired about the mechanism that makes it light up when pedaled, and Kachagunda explained that a magnet is required to create such a system. William was advised to read books on the subject, but as he didn't have a library pass, Kachagunda took him there. The librarian recommended some books, which William began to read. Later, when the head of the party arrived in the village, he was welcomed with applause and joy, but he implemented policies that went against the people's interests and showed no concern for them. The head of the party showed no concern for the drought or flood. At a village gathering, the leader initially praised him but soon accused him of neglecting the common people and causing hunger. The leader was forcibly removed from the stage and beaten. Observing this, the chief's son and William rushed to his aid. In addition, William's father broke past the guards and rushed to his son, causing the guards to shoot their guns into the air, resulting in panic and chaos as people scattered in different directions. The head of the party and his entourage quickly fled in their cars. Meanwhile, the chief sustained severe injuries and was taken to one of the huts in the village. Due to the fear that he may face danger, taking him to the hospital was not an option. The following day, Trywell along with some other individuals, including William's father, went out to gather crops. Despite the scorching heat, their yield was minimal, consisting mostly of dried corn which wouldn't suffice for even 2 months. Eventually, Trywell made his way to the center of the village. A cluster of individuals were present, listening to the news broadcasted over the radio. It conveyed that the government negated the issue of hunger and insisted that the situation was favorable. However, the seller's decision to increase the price of grain by 5-fold incited a surge of adverse emotions among the inhabitants. Trywell opted to join fellow locals in a protest against the authorities' refusal to acknowledge a grave predicament. He pledged to return the following day. Meanwhile, William and the librarian were arranging a book on electricity while simultaneously endeavoring to construct a contraption using makeshift materials. William attended school and took a seat at his desk, anticipating that Kachagunda would be the one to conduct the lesson. However, the headmaster entered the classroom and announced that he would be leading the class that day. Upon noticing William, he commanded him to stand up and instructed him to leave the school premises permanently. William tried to reason that his father would pay later, but the headmaster paid no heed and reiterated his demand for William to depart. William looked at the dry fields, which had withered from intense heat and a lack of trees. Abruptly, he heard screams. His mother informed him that trucks from the government, loaded with grain, had arrived, signifying that they had not been abandoned. She handed William some money and instructed him to purchase as much grain as he could. The villagers rushed towards the trucks, prompting William to take his bike for a quicker journey. Meanwhile, William's sister returned home and engaged in an argument with her mother over her boyfriend. Unexpectedly, a man barged into their home and expressed his desire to eat. He snatched a bucket of food and fled. William's mother dashed outside and discovered that other individuals were also pilfering their food provisions. She wept because now they are doomed to starve from hunger. Meanwhile, a commotion erupted in the village where everyone was anticipating the grain delivery. The residents began to raid the grain storage unit since they realized that there would not be enough for everyone. In the chaos, William managed to purchase some grain, clutching it tightly to himself as he was fearful that it might be stolen from him. Subsequently, the father and other men returned from the rally, and upon his arrival, his wife apprised him that all their food supplies had been pilfered. As a result, the people who had purchased grain were apprehensive of venturing outdoors due to the hostile and ravenous mob. However, the soldiers directed them to evacuate the area since they could not remain there any longer. William decided to leave through the back entrance, get on his bike and drove away unnoticed, and he successfully did it. Later that evening, William's father counted the money, assessed the amount of grain, and conveyed that they could only manage to eat once per day, leaving everyone disheartened. In the subsequent days, Trywell scoured the area in search of food. When William decides to check on his trap, he never managed to catch anything. At night, William went to his sister and told her to ask her boyfriend Kachagunda to give her a headlight with a mechanism. Then William would be able to make a water pump and save the village from drought. The next morning, as William was returning home with firewood and heard loud screams, it turned out that his sister ran away with his teacher from the village. William was very upset and decided to go inside. Suddenly, he saw a headlight with the mechanism he needed on the table. William took a book on electricity from the library and a mechanism donated by the teacher and decided to make a small windmill with his friends. After working on the project for a long time, he opened the door to allow the wind into the room and the mechanism started working. Now, this mechanism needs to be made in a large size. William took his invention to his father, who was busy looking for food in the field, but his father was not impressed by this idea, and he did not believe in him. He rather got mad at his son and pushed him to the ground. He said that William would go with him to the field to work the next day to look for food. William was very upset. In the next scene, William together with his friend were digging up the ground. They sat down to rest for a while. Then William thought for a while and went to the rest of his friends. There, he learns that everyone else is going to go north away from the village. William was able to persuade them and asked them to help him implement his idea. In order to make a big windmill, he needed his father's bicycle, but his father forbid him to take it. So together with his friends, William approached his father to ask once again for the bike. but Trywell told them to go away. William said that he could use his device to help the village with water, but his father did not listen to him and drove everyone away. As time passed, the drought intensified. More graves popped up in the cemetery, which meant people were dying from starvation. At this time, William gathered all the spare parts for the windmill and went to look for his dog. It turned out that she also died of hunger. William's mom told Trywell that there were no more options to save himself except to give William a bicycle so that he could make a mechanism. William was burying his dog when his father came to him on a bicycle. William convinced his father that his idea would work, and his father gave him the bike. He and his father started work. First, the bicycle frame was dismantled. Then a couple of trees were cut down. They created the necessary structure from them and erected it. William built the necessary mechanism and took it outside where the rest of the team were working. They lifted a large propeller and secured it. William twisted the wires in the right way, and the propeller began to spin. Everyone was waiting for a miracle. William said that the battery should recharge a little. The villagers made a path for water. Suddenly the motor started and everyone raised their heads. The water began to flow. In the end, everyone was in shock and all the villagers started having fun and hugging William. The water flowed into the field and they planted seeds. After a while, small plants appeared and the village was saved. Please subscribe and turn on notifications to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching.